All right, so welcome to SIA's first webinar of the year. My name is Jamila, and today I'll be going over the Peru 2014 programs via this online information session today. So this is a little picture of me, and I'll be conducting the webinar for today. The way I'm going to structure it is I will go through a quick PowerPoint. It should take about 20 minutes. And then we will go into a Q&A session where you can feel free to ask any questions. There is a panel on the right-hand side of your screen which should have a text box, or you can actually use your mic and verbally ask the questions. I have Larry Shuttleworth and Mansi as well on the line, and they will be my panelists. So if you have any questions during the webinar, feel free to type them out. And Larry and Mansi will definitely provide some answers right away, and we'll go over the overall questions in the Q&A session as well. So just going into the PowerPoint now. So what are we going to be discussing today? We'll go in through a little bit of information about Solidarity in Action and who they are. We'll talk about why would you travel with Solidarity in Action, what sets them apart versus other programs. We'll go into the volunteer placements and cultural experience in greater detail. And then finally the fun stuff. We'll go in through logistics, so food, accommodation, transportation, and then finally we'll end it off with the administration, so looking at registration costs and fundraising. And then finally the Q&A period with both the ask or chat options. So who is Solidarity in Action? So Solidarity in Action was co-founded in 2005 by university students and brothers, Larry and Angus Shuttleworth. So Larry's actually on the line with us today, so you'll have a chance to chat with him. They actually did go on a trip to Peru themselves when they were in university, and they saw a need, so they actually decided to create an organization for students initially that offers short-term travel and volunteer opportunities to Peru. So currently they send about around 80 to 100 participants each year, and the participants go on multiple variations with the trips. So there are trips that are short-term, 2-week trips, and there are longer-term trips that last up to 3 months. The participants who do go on the trips now cover a wide range of individuals, from students to universities, professors, teachers, as well as retired individuals and working professionals. And the main difference with Solidarity in Action, if you compare it to any other organization, is it's a tight-knit community. Solidarity in Action has extreme focus, and they welcome you with open arms, and it's a very tight-knit community because you really get to know the organization and you really get to make a difference. If you're passionate about something, SIA is passionate about it too, and they will provide you with whatever tools you need to make a difference. So why SIA? Well, SIA, the program in general, empowers and inspires. So as I mentioned before, they have interactive volunteer placements that actually help you make a meaningful difference. So if you do have something that you're extremely passionate about, you can feel free to start your own project, and SIA will help you. And then there's also other volunteer placements which we'll go into that are already established. The second great thing about working with SIA is a trip like this allows you to develop yourself personally. So working in these placements, you get to develop leadership skills. You get to develop your confidence, your teamwork skills. You also get to learn Spanish and get immersed into the culture. You also get to try different types of cuisines. And, you know, one part of this trip that is unique is you get to visit Machu Picchu, but you're also building your resume and developing yourself at the same time. So definitely a win-win situation. So going in through the volunteer placements, we have 3 main areas of focus with SIA. So they're education, health, and infrastructural development. However, as I did mention before, there are also other projects that, you know, if you're passionate about it, we're passionate about it too. So those things can be things such as sewing. I know in my trip, we had a few ladies who were very interested in teaching the women how to sew, and that led to employment within the community. So we had a week where they came down and they taught sewing. And then we also had a student who was studying recreation and leisure studies, and she came down for 3 months and she worked with youth programming. And you know, for her, that was her experience, and it was definitely very unique. So when you're working with Solidarity in Action, you're working with Pacifico de Villa. This is one of the communities in Lima, Peru. It's outside the city. It's actually located in the mountains. And this city, although it does have very nice, you know, facilities in place, such as the medical clinic, the preschool, community center, and even a park, they don't have access to sanitation or sewage in this community, you know, and it's extreme poverty. So definitely this is a community where you can really make a difference. And as you can see, these 4 areas are actually places that we volunteer in every year when we go and work in Pacifico. So education is one of the main pillars of Solidarity in Action's placements. So the objective here is when we come and help out in Pacifico, we want to increase the level of education within the local community by providing access and support. So when you're working with SIA, you're going to be helping children who are at risk. You're going to be, you know, helping with English and math homework. You're going to be teaching language, the English language. It could be in a formalized school setting. It could even be informally in the community center. You have the option to even go to the schools and work with children who have exceptionalities or disabilities. And then finally, there's also opportunities for teachers who want to develop curriculum or work in early childhood education. So health is the second most important pillar that SIA works in Pacifico de Villa. So the main goal here is to increase the level of education regarding disease transmission, hygiene, and other health-related issues. So in the past, placements have included where individuals come down and they work in a community clinical setting. So they would set up a flu shot clinic or conduct first aid training. And then there's also the health promotion aspect, and I actually got to take part in that when I was in Peru this past July. So what we did there was we conducted home visits, we assessed and identified the risks, and then we created a public health initiative and campaign. And it was the Hands for Hygiene initiative, which, as you can see, consisted of creating an event at the end of our week, which consisted of 4 stations to teach the community about the importance of storing garbage correctly, to learn how, you know, you don't have sewage, but you can still build a latrine for washroom facilities, and there are ways to maintain cleanliness. Also learning about just the impact of, you know, why you should not be burning garbage, why you keep the garbage up high so that the dogs cannot play with it. And then finally, germ transmission. There are lots of children in this community. They don't have access to water, so washing hands is definitely a challenge sometimes. So, you know, just educating the community about why hand washing is important, and also just the general transmission of germs when you don't wash your hands and then you play with, you know, a dog outside, or you then go and feed your baby. There are definitely some ways to transform germs over there. So this is what we did for our campaign. And I personally, I didn't actually have any experience in health, but as long as you're passionate about maintaining a great hygiene, you can do anything. And this is just showcasing that exactly. So the third main pillar is infrastructure. So the objective here is just to increase the level of access to facilities to improve the standards of living within the community. So placements include things like construction. So what you'll see in this community is that they may have started out with a very small community center. SIA came in and helped to expand. They created classrooms within the preschool. And then, as you'll notice when you do get to the village, is you'll see that it's up on a hill, and there are a lot of individuals there who are, you know, the elderly. They have trouble getting to and from their homes. They have to get water from a truck who comes every couple of days. So for them, having a stairway is definitely a great option to help them in terms of their mobility. So those are all of the aspects in terms of the implementation. but don't forget that when you do come to SIA, you're involved in the entire process. So there's also the design and the development work. So that's a place where even if you do come to do construction, you're going to build your leadership skills. You're going to build your teamwork, and you're going to be able to, coordinate and facilitate different types of plans. So now that I've gone over all of the different types of activities you can do while you're on your volunteer placement, let's go into the other side of things where you get to actually experience the culture of Peru. So yes, you're going to be doing work, you're going to be enjoying yourself while you're working, but you're also going to spend your evenings and your weekends and a portion of your trip doing other activities. So there are outings in Lima where you actually get to go to different tourist attractions. There's the main plaza, there's this catacombs museum, there's this fountain park, and then there's also other parts of Peru where the tourists go, where the beach is. You'll definitely get to see those areas. And then on the second half of your trip, you actually get to go to Machu Picchu. You get to go to the village of the Incas. You get to learn about how they, survived in this lost city in the middle of the mountains. And you also get to go horseback riding in the Andes Mountains, which was also, for me, the highlight of my trip. So definitely, you do get a lot of cultural experience when you go on a trip with SIA. So now let's just go into some of the details and the logistics. So when is SIA's next trip? So we do have 2 trips planned in May. So Peru A will be held May 1 to 14, and Peru B will be held May 15 to 29. So myself and Nancy, we're the leaders for Peru B. So if you definitely have any questions regarding that trip, we would be your best points of contact. There are other program leaders who are leading other trips. There are some trips in July and August, which have a stronger focus on teachers and working professionals. However, the trips in May are open to everybody as well. So definitely a great opportunity to make new friends and just, right before your summer starts, why not help and volunteer and travel. So just a quick day-by-day breakdown. So the trip is about 14 days, and out of which you'll spend 9 days in Lima, you'll spend 3 days in Cusco, and then you'll spend 2 days traveling from and to Peru, and that would be, your flights and your layovers. So approximately 8.5-hour flight, but there will be a transfer in San Salvador usually in the middle of that. So when you're working with SIA, this is what you could expect to see for your daily routine. So there's breakfast, which is provided every morning at the retreat house, which is where you'll stay. And then you have a full day of placements at which you will have lunch in the community. And then once you're coming back after your placements are over, you have a little bit of downtime. There is Spanish class, and then finally dinner again at the retreat house. And the main thing that SIA provides is when you do have dinner, it's with everybody like a family would have dinner, and you get that close-knit feeling. And then the evenings usually get changed up. So one night you may have a discussion, another night you may work as a group and prepare for the next day. Another day you might have an outing or a cultural activity, just to go to Barranco or to the beach or, something like that. So some details about what you will be doing when you're in Peru and where you will be staying. So in terms of food, SIA provides you with all of your meals daily. So you'll get breakfast and dinner at the retreat house, and lunch will be provided at the community where you stay. And the one great thing about SIA is that they actually cater to all dietary restrictions. So if you're lactose-free like me or gluten-free like another friend of mine, they definitely do cater to that, as well as the vegans and the vegetarians. And then finally, close to where the accommodation is, there is a grocery store. So you definitely do have access to go buy, additional snacks, or if you're not happy with, the type of food you're getting, there's definitely available options. And we will do our best to make sure that you are happy with the food and the level of, cleanliness that you're getting. So from an accommodation perspective, We have these retreat houses, which, there you can find these types of housing all around the world. They're very safe and comfortable houses, and they are run by a spiritual organization. And they have double to triple occupancy, so you can expect to have your own bed. However, you may be sharing a room with another roommate. And there are common areas that have, bathrooms, social rooms, rec areas, and so forth. And we choose this type of accommodation because it definitely does give you that sense of community where there is, space for everybody to sit in one room, but you also do get a little bit of privacy as well. But you get to know your roommate really well by the end of it, and it's definitely a bond that, will last a long time. And then finally, the transportation. So when you're in Peru, SIA has a logistics coordinator. There's some team leaders, which would be myself, and an SIA team in Peru. So they will be with us at all times, and they coordinate everything. If you need to get anywhere within Peru, you will always have a translator with you who will help you with the language, and you'll also have some security who will, be with us whenever we're on the bus that is taking us to and from the community. So the buses are private buses, which SIA rents out to take us around, and so they're very comfortable, and they provide you with that safety that you get, whenever you're in an area that you're not familiar with. And then finally, you do have travel to Cusco and Machu Picchu as well, and so there's a flight to go from Lima to Cusco, and then there's also a train and bus to take you to Machu Picchu. So that covers the food, accommodation, and transportation. And now let's just go into the registration and requirements. So to come on a trip with SIA, you must be at least 18 years old. However, you don't require any experience. As long as you want to travel, meet new people, and make a difference, we're happy. We're happy to have you. You don't need to know any Spanish. You will be learning Spanish by having Spanish classes on site. You'll also have translators available to you. They speak both English and Spanish, and so they can communicate back and forth when you're in the community. And before you go on the trip, we want to get you excited. So we're going to send you some Spanish phrases. We're going to try and, get your Spanish up to the level where you can, have a basic conversation. Hi, how are you? My name is, and so forth. So definitely you don't need to actually have any prior language training for sure. So the next steps from here would be to register. So there are forms available on the SIA website, which you can email or mail in, and we'll respond as soon as possible. And then when you are submitting your registration form, your spot will be reserved, but you will have to provide your $250 deposit when you do register. And there is an installment plan, which I'll go through when we discuss the cost. And then finally, the deadline. So the applications will be accepted on a rolling basis, so there is no hard deadline. However, the pricing may change based on the group flights, because we do book the group flights about a month and a half in advance of the trip. If your flight's not booked by then, we can't really guarantee the cost of the flight. So that's just something to consider when looking at the costing. So SIA does have a 2-week program and a 4-week program, and there are some different price ranges available. So for the 2-week program, $2,900 includes all airfare, so that includes a flight from Toronto to Lima, Lima to Cusco, which will take you to Machu Picchu, and then back home. So definitely includes all of the flights, and that's the greatest expense. Secondly, it includes all your meals when you're in Lima, when you're in the retreat house. It includes some of your meals when you're in Cusco. However, there may be 1 or 2 lunches where if you're roaming around the city, it's just logistically easier for you to pick out your own meal. And then your transportation and accommodation are covered for all of your days. In addition to that, all of your cultural outings, so when we go to any museums or Machu Picchu, you don't have to pay for any of that. It's all included. And then your travel and medical insurance and other in-country costs are also covered. Just keep in mind, though, that if you need to get any vaccinations, you have to see your travel doctor and they'll let you know what you need, but that's not covered with the cost. And if you have to get a visa, I mean, we're Canadian, so we don't really need a visa to visit Peru, but if you do need a visa, then that is something you might have to pay out of pocket. And then again, if you have any personal expenses, so souvenirs and things like that. And then as I mentioned before, we do book the flights quite early, so the price may fluctuate depending on when you register, so just keep that in mind as well. And then finally, other organizations may offer similar trips, but those trips don't actually include the cost of the flight in their quotations. So if you do think the 2,900 is a little high, that's something to consider, that with the other trips, they may be around 2,900, but they don't include the flight. So you have to add that on. So it may come up to a lot more than actually the 2,900. And then just a little thing to sweeten the deal. SIA is a charity, so your $2,900 is tax deductible. So definitely that's something to consider, because for me personally, I'm going to be getting around, I think, $1,000 back. So for me, my total cost is actually $1,000 less because the government reimburses me the following year. So that's definitely something to consider. I mean, it's based on your income tax rate again, but definitely something to take advantage of. And again, if that's still too much for you, there's a fundraising option as well. And I know cost is a lot of the time it's a huge barrier. So fundraising is definitely a great way to help reduce the cost. So definitely you can write letters to your friends and family. You can contact the Lions or Rotary clubs in your area. They're usually very generous. You can hold a fundraising event, and you can also set up a CanadaHelps.org account. It's pretty much an online account where you can have people donate to your cause. And then that'll go towards your trip, and the people who donate will also get a tax receipt as well. So if you want to learn more about, fundraising ideas, Lauren, the trip leader for Peru A, she actually fundraised 100% of her trip last year. So if you want to learn more about how she did it and just learn about other ideas, we will be hosting another webinar on February 6th at 8:30 p.m. After this webinar is over, there will be a follow-up email, and the follow-up email will have the link for registering for this webinar, and definitely hope to see you guys there for that as well. And I know some of you, after hearing this PowerPoint, you may be very excited. We are having an in-person, information session on February 2nd from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you are considering registering, then definitely from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., we're having the first pre-departure session. So this is actually a session that is held right before you go to Peru, and it covers all of the details. So we'll go into more details with the food, the accommodation, the transportation, with the health and safety. We'll go into more details that you're looking for. And so that's definitely from around 9 a.m. to 11. And then from 1 to 3, we're going to have the actual information session, which will be a similar PowerPoint to this, but you can actually have the opportunity to meet us and to see other participants who are also interested in coming. And so it's definitely a great way with face-to-face interaction. And that's going to be held in Burlington at the SIA office, which is 2412 Glenwood School Drive in Burlington. So that's definitely also another thing to consider if you're still, you want to meet people, you want to learn more about SIA, you want to talk to more people. This would be a great way just, to get that level of communication as well. And then we also have our Facebook, email, website, and blog, so you can definitely check that out. The blog I highly recommend. There's a lot of information on there. There's a day-by-day. I know for my trip in Peru, Nancy was manning the blog, so she actually wrote a post every day when we were there about what we did. So definitely something to consider. So now we'll go into the Q&A session, and I'll unmute everybody so we can have a chat. And I'll also open the floor to Nancy and Larry as well. So Nancy and Larry, are you guys okay to just to introduce yourselves really quickly?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Larry Shedowitz, and I'm the Executive Director of Solidarity in Action. And you guys considering to make this decision to join us is a wonderful decision. It's a wonderful opportunity to truly grow and to learn more about the culture. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, so I'm just going to mute all the attendees. Do you guys have any questions?
I was like, no, I wait for Jacob to get a call.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, before you're gonna post.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, well, we do have some frequently asked questions, which we can take you through. And I'll just go over some of those. So here are some of the questions that we've had at other previous information sessions. So regarding the fundraising and personal donation process, so there's CanadaHelps.org that you can use to set up an account for people to donate to you. They can also give you the money via a check or I guess cash as well, but you have to make sure that you just document that. So that's how that would work. Next question, do I get the placement that I choose? So when working with Solidarity in Action, the registration form does have information regarding all of the different types of placements, what you're interested in, and from there we do match you up with your interests, your skills, and what placement you want to do. And you do have the option. SIA is a very flexible organization, so if you want to volunteer in the morning and work with education, and then in the afternoon you want to do health, or if you want to do health the entire week, or if you want to split it up and do 2 days of health and 3 days of construction, that's definitely an option, and that is what SIA does. In terms of the itinerary, so can you provide us with the itinerary? So the itinerary is essentially you fly the first day and the last day, then you spend about 8 days in Lima, and then the final 3 or 4 days you're in transit / at Machu Picchu and Cuzco. So that's generally what the itinerary looks like. And then a day by day I've already provided a sample of, so that's going to provide you with that information. Next question. So how safe is Peru? So Peru is fairly safe. I mean, generally speaking, you will find, good areas and bad areas. The area that we're staying is one of the safest areas in Lima. And then just in general, whenever you do go anywhere, always be vigilant, always keep safe. I mean, when you're in an area where you have fancy things and, the people around you maybe cannot afford, that's something just to, consider on a personal level, just to keep that tucked away, and you'll reduce your risk that way. So what is the difference between the 2-week and the 4-week program? So the 2-week program, you're only actually volunteering for about 8 days in Lima, and then you're going to go to Cusco. In the 4-week program, you'll be following the same as the 2-week program. However, the following 2 weeks, you'll be spending the entire 2 weeks in Lima. So you actually do get to volunteer for about 3 weeks as opposed to like the 8 days. And then finally, you get to build relationships with 2 different groups. So for example, if you go in May, you go with Peru A and you stay back for Peru B, you definitely do get to meet people from both of those groups. So definitely a good opportunity to consider as well. Can I travel with a friend? Definitely. If you and your friend are both interested and you want to, stay together in the same room, that's definitely something that you just let us know and we'll make it happen. Exchange rates. So the exchange rate, I can't remember exactly what it is. Larry, do you know? Hi, Larry. Sorry about that, Larry. You're muted.
Okay, so the exchange rate in Peru, they use what's known as the Peruvian Nuevo Sole, or the Sole more commonly known, and it's roughly between 2.5 and 2.6 soles for $1 Canadian. So you'll find that Peru is relatively inexpensive.
Okay, perfect. Great answer. The weather. So the weather differs actually based on the trip that you go into. So if you're going in May, the weather is about, Larry, you can confirm this. This is about like 25 degrees, nice and sunny in Lima. And then it's about 16 degrees in Cusco, around there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the climate, so you do have, as Jamila said, you have two different climates. In Lima, because it's a desert along the coast, it's a bit warmer. It's generally in beginning of May, mid-May, it's about 23, 24, and then it gets down to about 16 in the evening. And then Cusco, it can get up to about 18 or 19 during the day, but then at night, you're 3,300 meters above sea level, you're in the Andes, so the temperature will come down to about 1 or 2 degrees. So you have to pack accordingly.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Okay, and then the final question that's on the facts would be that do we travel in groups all the time? Yes, majority of the time you are in a group. When you're in Cusco, you may have some free time, but you're requested to, make sure you have at least 3 or 4 people with you in a group. So yeah, definitely for sure. And then just something to consider, if you're interested in attending Peru B, March 10th is the date that we're going to be booking the flights. So the final day for registration at a $2,900 cost would be on that day. Okay, so there are some questions now that have been typed up, so I'll just read them out. Hopefully you guys can still hear me and we're all good on that front. So will this program be offered in summer 2015? Yes, this program will definitely be offered in summer 2014. It'll have a similar structure, so you'll have the Peru A, Peru B, C, and D. However, it's not really decided on who the program leaders will be for next year. So definitely try and come if you can this year. Definitely, I know you know me personally, so this would be a great option for you to come to Peru and be in good hands with me. Okay, do you have a detailed breakdown of the cost? Yes, I believe I do. I don't have it on me right now, but I can send that to you for sure. Is part of the cost going towards the community as a charity donation? Yes, there will be a portion that's donated to the charity, and there is also a portion of the cost that is donated more of the accommodation, food, and so forth. Next question. So does the group have a collective reflection night? How frequently do you have these? Yes, the group does have collective reflection nights. I mean, when you're in the community, it sometimes is difficult, to see that level of poverty, and, you go through a lot of things. You may want to share your feelings. You may want to just, talk about what's happening, or you may just choose to sit and listen to hear what other people have to say. And so definitely we do have collective reflection nights. It's a great way for the team to also bond. In terms of how frequently we have these reflection nights, when you're in Lima, they do happen almost every day. And we try to have them every night as much as possible, and we'll mix it in with the cultural activity as well. Next question. So are there any physical requirements in terms of conditioning? Definitely not. You don't have to be physically fit. You just have to, be willing to be there, and we will make sure that, if there's something that you can't handle, we won't make you do it. There's, you can pick and choose how you'd like to do it. And, I know some people on previous trips, they were doing construction, and I know for some people they had a great workout out of it. So next question. Does the group have frequent social nights prior to or during the trip to get to know one another? Yes, we definitely do. We have 3 pre-departure sessions which occur prior to the trip. So the first one is going to be on Sunday, February 2nd, and that trip pre-departure session is going to be just for everybody to meet each other, and also going to be for everyone to just learn more about the trip. And then there's a second and a third. The second pre-departure session is usually held about in March, and in March there will be a session where you can actually talk more about projects, and definitely everybody else will come and meet people in their particular, Peru A, Peru B, and so forth. It'll be more intimate and definitely a better way for everyone to communicate and get to know each other. And then there's also going to be Facebook groups created to help you interact and get to know who else is on your trip as well. And then during the trip, you have lots of opportunities to get to know your teammates. I mean, we have icebreakers and different types of games to get to know each other, as well as on the flight when we're flying from Toronto to Lima as well. And then, the funny questions. So Nancy's actually saying that we do have a rooftop. We do have a courtyard. So there's lots of opportunities for everybody, to just relax together and have fun. Okay, next question. What is the cost difference for the 2-week and the 4-week program? So the 2-week program, as I mentioned, is about $2,900. The 4-week program is about $3,950. So what's done is they've just taken out the Machu Picchu portion in the second 2 weeks, and then that's kind of the same rate. All right, so I have another question. I'm not sure which 2-week program I will be joining. If I register for Peru A or B and decide later on to opt for a later group in the summer, is that possible? I do believe that is possible. Larry, can you confirm?
Yes, if I understand the question correctly, at this time you believe that you'll be better able to go to a program in May, but perhaps something will come up that will cause you to move the program to July. That is possible. Just keep in mind the March 10th for the Peru B as the deadline for that $2,900 cost. That's an important date because that's when we submit your name to the airline. So we will be purchasing your ticket, and at that point it becomes a bit difficult to change flights and return flights. And if we did do that and moved it to the later July program, then there would be an additional cost that would be just as a result of the cost to change the ticket. But if you decide before the beginning of March, then that'll be fine. And I think what I would say to that is also just, if that's something you're considering, then just talk about to us, whoever your program leader is, speak to them and let them know so that they're aware of your situation, and I think it will help you to decide on which program you'll be able to go.
Okay, next question. I guess, Larry, you might want to answer this one again. So how do we get the tax refund for the cost of the trip?
Okay, so a great question. Because we are a charity, because you are joining us on this program, we're very fortunate and pleased to have your skills, as Jamila has shown. So it's a pleasure for us to be able to provide a receipt. So by registering, you are automatically added to our database. So coming the following year, you will receive a tax receipt by email, and that will happen usually about February, mid-February. We are currently in the process of doing that for the 2013 programs.
Perfect. Okay, another question for you, Larry. Are there healthcare services available in the region?
Absolutely. Lima, which is where you spend most of your time, is a city of roughly 10 million people. So you are in a city, you're in an urban area. So the furthest that you'll be away from a a hospital or a clinic would be a 15 to 20-minute drive, and we are very familiar with the hospitals in the area, and we know where the suitable ones are that we can go to. There are some, in fact, that even have doctors that can speak a bit of English. So you don't think that you're going off to some remote village where you'll be 2 or 3 hours away from the closest health post. You will feel as if you are in a large city in a developing community.
Okay, perfect. So another question. Are we able to stay longer independently and not return with the group after our 2-week volunteer period? So I guess an extended stay to travel independently? Yes, for sure. You can definitely do that. All you have to do is just let us know beforehand so that we can adjust your flight accordingly. So, I mean, of course, after the trip is done, it's your responsibility, but we can definitely extend your trip. And just consider that the March 10th deadline is for Peru B, if you're interested, that's the date that we need to know if you want to extend your flight. So just let us know, and we can definitely, before that deadline, we can help you out with that. Is this a registered nonprofit organization? I believe it is, but Larry, can you confirm?
Absolutely. We're a Canadian charity. We've had charitable status since 2007.
Perfect.
So we have our charitable number, which you can find online.
Yep.
But our work is focused on being able to address the needs of two particular markets. The one being the local community and improving their living conditions, and the second is each individual participant who goes on this program. We want to ensure that this experience is a life-changing and a life-enriching experience for each one of you, that you can really return home with skills, with the motivation to continue to contribute. And as a charity, that's what our mandate is, and that's what we look to do with each of our programs.
Okay, so the next question from Timothy. So you mentioned you have more business professionals in the summer. When is registration and travel date? So Timothy, so I'm Jamila, and I am actually also a business professional, and I went on my trip last year. I went in July with the teachers. In May, the first 2 weeks are for sure more or less for the younger professional and recent graduates type of age group. So our trips would be Peru A and Peru B, and the registration, the latest registration date would be March 10th. For Peru A, the deadline is April 27th. Or sorry, it's not April 27th. Larry, can you confirm the date again?
For Peru A?
Yeah.
At the final class is February 27th.
Sorry, it's February 27th. I don't know why I said April. February 27th is the Peru A deadline. And what type of education do we teach at the schools? I think Larry can probably speak really well to this question.
Yeah, I can, and also related to the later summer programs, because we haven't had a chance to mention that. Peru C takes place July 1st, and Peru D is July 24th, and both of those are 2-week programs. Okay, so the question was relating to the type of education that we teach in
the schools,
in our placements.
Yep.
So if I understand the question correctly, what kind of our involvement is in a school or in a community-based project in the area of education?
Yeah.
What else? Okay, great. What we look at doing is we look to support what is already in place. We like to think of our volunteers fitting into an area where the community or the local institution wouldn't be able to address that need by themselves. For us, having volunteers that go down and do the exact same thing as what a Peruvian teacher is doing, it doesn't make much sense for us. So what we look at doing is we try to get a sense of what are the needs of the school, of the community, and through that we build our projects. But with education, what skill we have? We have English. So we're able to work alongside a teacher, helping them to come up with activities in their classroom. There's an opportunity to lead some of the activities and kind of team teach as well. We have, Canada has a very professional approach to education, which a lot of developing countries we find is that we're able to bring them more of a professional kind of teacher-mentor, speaking alongside and working alongside the teacher to come up with different ideas. We've led professional development sessions on pedagogy and strategy. And then there's opportunities to work in more community-based projects, which would look more like a summer camp in Canada, where we work with children aged 6 to 15, running them through activities in arts, some English classes, some music. But what we're trying to do is we really want students to be, doing the work and learning through acting and through doing. So that's sort of our whole approach to education.
Excellent. So are there any more questions? I think that was the final one. I'll give it like 10 seconds. All right, no more questions. So we do have a YouTube video, which I will send you guys a link to. Oh, there is one more question from Timothy. I'll hold on a second. Peru C and D. Yep, they're in July and August, I believe.
Would you like the dates again, Timothy?
Registration deadlines for those ones. So you have a little bit more time for those ones because they're held in July and August, and we accept applications on a rolling basis. So I guess for that one would be like a month and a half before the flight. July and August, how's the weather? So the weather's a little bit cooler. July and August is the winter of, I guess, the southern hemisphere. That's when they do have winter. So in the daytime in Lima, it's about 16 degrees. In Cusco, it's a little bit cooler. It can get as low as, I think, 4 degrees or around that much. So July and August is definitely a little bit colder. The sun is not as bright. It's a cold, cloudy sky all day. In July and August, yeah. And then in May, there's a lot of sunshine. In May, it's nice and warm. So those are the two differences. May is the ending of their summer, though. It's dying down, so it's not as hot in May as it would be in some of the other months as well. Anything else to add on to those questions, Larry?
No, I think on this program, you're so focused on the work that you're doing. Lima provides the perfect climate to be able to do that. You don't have to worry about getting too hot, heat exhaustion. So you really can operate and do everything that you want to at a very comfortable temperature. And then in the evenings when we go out, you put just a sweater on top and you're fine. And then in Cusco, the climate, May, July, August, it's beautiful. During the day, it's clear and it's warm. You have to be careful. You could get a sunburn. And then in the evening, it's that cold kind of fall that we have in autumn that we have in Canada. So it's a really nice temperature.
Perfect. So any more questions? We will have a little question box in our follow-up email. There is going to be a survey at the end of this as well, with just a few questions asking you more details about how you thought about the webinar, if you liked it, and if there's anything we didn't cover and you wanted to learn more. We do have open-ended, so please complete the survey. If you can't complete it right away, there will be a link emailed to you in our follow-up email, which we'd like you to fill out if possible, so that we can use this for the future, just to improve the webinars and just to make the experience overall better. So thank you guys very much today. Thank you, Larry and Mansi, for paneling this webinar as well. And if you guys have any questions, you can reach out to the SIA Webinars 2014 email. or you can also just go to info@solidarityinaction.com, and we will try to answer your questions as soon as possible. And you can definitely find us on Facebook. We have a page over there. We post a lot of things on that page, and the YouTube link that I send you as well will definitely cover in a couple of minutes all of the projects, the impact that has been made on the participants, and just in general more information about SIA and the work that's been done in Pacifico de Villa. And there are some testimonials as well, so if you're still on the fence and you want to know more about how other participants have had an experience, it's definitely something to consider as well. And then just one final note, why SIA? Because SIA cares, and you're going to get a very individualized, very personalized experience. This is something that it's very difficult to replicate. This community is focused. This community is where you'll develop relationships, and when you come back, you'll take those relationships with you. This organization is very different from other organizations, so that's just something to consider. So I thank you guys for listening today, and I hope you enjoyed the information that we provided. Hope it was useful, and hopefully we'll see you guys on a trip or at the information session on the 2nd of February. And if you're still concerned about fundraising and that sort of thing, we will also have another website that webinar that Lauren is going to be hosting on February the 6th. So definitely tune into that as well, and the link will be sent to you in the follow-up email. So thank you guys, and I'm going to stop now. So have a great day, everybody.